The waitress had been on her feet since dawn, her smile worn thin by long hours and short tips. Every plate she carried reminded her of the bills waiting at home. Overdue rent, an empty fridge, and a future that felt heavier with each passing shift. When 5 rough-looking bikers walked into the diner, the room fell quiet. Leather jackets, heavy boots, weathered faces. Most people avoided eye contact. She didn't. They ordered simple meals, speaking little, their presence intimidating enough that other customers whispered and stared. As she placed the food on the table, she noticed their hesitation when the check arrived. It wasn't pride alone, it was embarrassment. These men who looked fearless on the outside were clearly counting every dollar. Without making a show of it, she slid the receipt back toward herself and said softly, "It's on me today." One of them laughed, thinking she was joking. Another tried to protest, reaching into his pocket. She gently shook her head. "I've been hungry before," she said. "I know what that feels like." What they didn't know was that she had skipped breakfast, that this meal cost her the money she had set aside for dinner that night, that her kindness came from a place of quiet struggle, not comfort. She didn't expect gratitude. She didn't ask for names. She simply refilled their coffee and walked away. To her, it was just the right thing to do, helping 5 strangers when no one else would. She had no idea that her small act of compassion had been noticed, remembered, and carried far beyond the walls of that diner. At that moment, she believed kindness ended at the table. She was wrong. When the bikers finished their meals, one of them reached for his wallet, laying a few crumpled bills on the table. Another added some coins, their rough hands moving with unexpected hesitation. It wasn't much, but it was everything they had. They looked up at the waitress, waiting for judgment, bracing for embarrassment. She didn't sigh. She didn't lecture. She simply pushed the money back with a calm, steady hand and offered a quiet smile. "No," she said gently. "You don't owe me anything." The word was small, almost lost beneath the hum of the diner. Yet it carried a weight none of them expected. To the bikers, that refusal wasn't charity, it was respect. She hadn't treated them like a problem or a pity case. She hadn't asked for thanks or a story. She had seen them as people first. One of the men insisted again, his voice firm but not angry. "We can't eat for free." She met his eyes without fear. "You already paid," she replied. "Just pass it on when you can." That moment lingered longer than the meal itself. In a world where most doors closed the second they walked in, this woman had done the opposite, without hesitation, without conditions. Her dignity in refusing the money told them she wasn't trying to be a hero. She was simply being human as they stood to leave. Each biker nodded in silent acknowledgement. No speeches, no promises, just a shared understanding. She watched them walk out, believing the moment ended there. She didn't know that her simple no had been taken as a bond, one forged not by words or money, but by respect. And respect, once earned, is never forgotten. 2 days later, the waitress arrived for her shift like any other morning, unaware that the city was already holding its breath. As she unlocked the diner door, a distant rumble rolled through the streets, low, heavy, relentless. At first, she thought it was thunder. Then the sound grew louder. Engines, hundreds of them. Customers froze, glasses rattled. People rushed to the windows. As black motorcycles poured into the street from every direction, stretching farther than the eye could see. Leather jackets, insignias, headlights glowing like a wall of steel. 800 Hell's Angels brought the city to a complete standstill. Panic spread in seconds. Phones came out, whispers turned to fear. The waitress felt her heart race. She remembered the 5 bikers. She wondered what she had done. Wrong. Then the engines cut out. Silence fell like a held breath. One by one, the bikers dismounted, forming lines outside the diner, not aggressive, not angry, respectful, still. A senior member stepped forward and entered alone. Every eye followed him as he approached the counter. "You fed our brothers." "When they had nothing," he said calmly. "You refused payment. You showed respect when the world usually gives us none." He placed an envelope on the counter, thick, heavy. But it wasn't just money. Behind him, the bikers stood with heads slightly bowed, a gesture few ever witnessed. The envelope represented security, opportunity, and a promise. She would never struggle alone again. Outside, engines restarted, not in chaos but in unison. The sound wasn't threatening anymore, it was a tribute. As the bikes slowly rolled away, the city exhaled. Fear turned into awe. The waitress stood frozen behind the counter, tears in her eyes, realizing her life had changed forever. Not because she asked for anything, but because she chose kindness when it cost her the most. That day, the city learned something unforgettable. Kindness echoes louder than engines.